Hello, everybody. It's Caleb Ross with you here again for Daily Football Zone Live, episode 6. The rest of the crew couldn't make it out here tonight, but, we're busy with holiday shopping and, holiday party, little get-togethers and all that. So, I think that they'll be able to join us next episode. As of right now, it's just be me for tonight. My name's Caleb. If you don't know by now, I'm the host. You can follow me at IHateKeb on Twitter and Instagram. You can also follow the Instagram account at Daily Football Zone. The Facebook is at The Daily Football Zone, and then Twitter is at Daily FZ, depending on what you're watching on the YouTube as well, where you can subscribe. You can find us at Daily Football Zone as well. I hope everyone's having a great night. I hope I'm not talking to myself. If you feel like interacting, want to leave me comments, feel free to do so. We'll have a discussion later. I hope that you guys can tune into that as well. It shouldn't be too long with me just talking to whoever tunes in. It shouldn't be no longer than 30 minutes. Hopefully, I got things to do too. I've been up since 4 a.m, so I hope to get this thing over with. Not too long either. Yesterday's episode was about 2 hours long, so I'm trying to cut it down. With so many people on air, you tend to have conversations, so it goes overboard. Goes over an hour, which is like the time, an hour and 30 is like no more than that. So hopefully in the future we can get it shorter. But yeah, this is a Daily Football Zone Live episode 6. We usually start off each episode going over the news. So there is current news around the league. It wasn't that much today compared to the previous days, but we got some. There's no Thursday night game tomorrow, so just remember that, Christmas Eve. But there is a Christmas Day game, and we can go over that as well later. But as for news, Jacksonville Jaguars rookie running back, he was out of practice this week. He's expected to be out due to a sprained ankle. He's unclear if he'll start this Sunday, but people that's writing him on fantasy are kind of hoping, you're in the championship. You need James Robinson to suit up, so hopefully he can play with, the sprained ankle. Hopefully he can heal in time. If not, play with it. If not, you might want to stash him on the bench maybe, depending on how your roster is looking if you're in the fantasy championship. Next thing, keep going on the Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars QB Mike Glennon and Gardner Minshew, they're going to battle it out this week for the starting gig on Sunday. And they're not going to be the quarterbacks for much longer if they keep the first overall pick. That looks like it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And unless they can somehow defeat, come up with a win this week or next week, it looks like they're going to have the first overall pick. So that'll be interesting. Another team that's looking forward to the first overall pick that lost it is the New York Jets. And the New York Jets, they placed their 2019 first round pick. That was third overall, Quinnen Williams. He was placed on injured reserve due to a neck injury. So he's not going to play for the next 2 games, which is a big loss for the team. But, they're pretty much going to lose out anyway. They got their one win out of the way, but now they're hurting from that because now they're not going to get Trevor Lawrence. And that'll be an interesting debate about what they do with Sam Darnold. If they decide to keep Sam Darnold and, decide to either trade out of that pick, or if they can't, get Trevor Lawrence. It really just depends. It'll be interesting. You never know what happens in the league. People make, dumb moves, and, what do I know? But speaking of the AFC East, the New England Patriots, they also placed one of their star defensive players on IR, cornerback Stephon Gilmore, with a torn quad. So he's done for the year, and that's a big blow. He was also recently nominated to the Pro Bowl. And, another player that was placed on IR is Houston Texans offensive tackle Titus Howard. He was also placed on IR for a concussion. He was also a former first-round pick by the Texans, which was their last first-round pick. They won't have one this year. Well, this coming year. So they better make the best out of him and make some better decisions when they get a new coach and GM, because they're desperately needing draft capital that they don't have because they decided to trade it away, which Miami currently has their first-round pick, which is the 6th overall, which they, being at 4-10, they would need. But, Bill O'Brien's gone, so maybe the future starts looking more bright in the coming years for Houston and Deshaun Watson. More teams in the AFC. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, he's expected to stop dancing in the midfield logo before games, and you're not going to see the Corvette for much longer. If you didn't see his Instagram post, him and rookie Javon Kinlaw were going back and forth on their Instagram stories. He came out today saying that he's not going to be dancing on the opponent's midfield logo anymore. I guess I'm assuming it's his home stadium as well. He's not going to be doing it, which he's not a bad guy. His intentions aren't bad, but just when you have that type of you're losing 3 straight and you have the media on you, they're not gonna, especially when it comes to opposing teams and a rival, with the Bengals, they're not gonna like that, and that's why you got smacked on Monday night. But don't be doing TikTok videos just to catch 3 catches for 16 yards and a fumble. Save the TikTok videos for the locker room or the tunnel or something. Don't be doing it on the opposing team's logo. That's just disrespectful at that point. But we can actually go back to the Houston Texans. This actually came out not that long ago that the Houston Texans interviewed head coach Marvin Lewis for the head coach role. So, man, I was talking about the Texans being bright future. It might not be bright if you bring in Marvin Lewis for the head coach role. He was he is formerly with the Cincinnati Bengals, where he spent 16 years with the Cincinnati Bengals. He went 131 wins for 122 losses and 3 ties. And he was 0-7 playoff record for Cincinnati in those 16 years. He's not the worst coach ever. He's not like Jeff Fisher, or someone like Freddie Kitchens, or but to have an 0-7 record in the playoffs, make 7 playoff appearances in 16 years and not win one of them, you're gonna get a bad rep. And you have a winning percentage as a head coach, and you spent 16 years with the organization, but since he should have cut ties a long time ago when before they finally did a couple years ago. But if Houston Texans, they want to make a step forward after the Bill O'Brien era, I don't think Marvin Lewis is the right guy to do so. He's maybe he can get you to the playoffs. Maybe a new scenery can get him a playoff win in his career. But 0-7 in the playoffs is just 7 years. You make 7 seasons to the playoffs out of 16 years, and you don't win one of them. It's just, it's not a good look for you. But that's pretty much it for the news. We can get to the Week 16 matchups. We have some intriguing matchups this week, some key matchups when it comes to the playoffs and seedings, and the teams are bound to get eliminated. There's already been a lot of the teams eliminated, so there's a couple more before we get the final set of teams. Like the Browns matchup and the Steelers matchup, that'll be interesting. We can get into those, but one of those matchups are going to be interesting. The Saturday night games are day and night games are kind of interesting as well, depending on how you look at it. But the first matchup is on Friday, Christmas Day matchup. It's the first Friday game since 2009 when the Chargers defeated the Tennessee Titans 42-17 or something like that. 42-17 Christmas Day on a Friday in 2009. That's the last Friday game that we've had, and it's been over 10 years now. And I kind of remember that game too. It was, but that was a long time ago. But it's the rematch of the last year's wild card round and also the Minnesota Miracle in the divisional round in the 2017 season. Vikings won the last 3 out of 4 versus New Orleans, and they're 23-12 all time versus New Orleans. I don't think Minnesota is gonna beat New Orleans whatsoever. This New Orleans team's on a 2-game losing streak, but the Minnesota Vikings, they're kind of coming up at first after a slow start, but then now they've kind of, fallen back down the past couple of weeks, and now they're hurting when it comes to the 7th seed because they're now 6-8. They're not officially eliminated, but with a loss to New Orleans on Friday, they'll be eliminated for sure. They have a chance for the 7th seed with the Arizona Cardinals being 8-6. If they could win out and then Cardinals lose out, they can, and then other teams, lose, they can somehow sneak in at the 7th seed, but it's not looking likely, especially when you play at New Orleans on a Friday and a short week. It's not looking like it's going to be in Minnesota's favor. New Orleans is they're in a 2-game losing streak, so they're due for a win, and they don't want to win out because they can still play for the 1st seed. They just need Packers to lose, and they have a tough matchup on Sunday night. So it's possible that if they can win out, if New Orleans can win out, and Green Bay can lose their next 2 games, New Orleans can be back in the 1st seed. But you never know. It's going to be out there. That's asking for a lot for Green Bay to lose twice. But you can go into the next games. That's Saturday. We have a triple header on Saturday. This one is the first matchup on Saturday morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at, Eastern or Pacific. The 9-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers are traveling to Detroit to play the 5-9 Lions. that should be an easy game for Tampa. Detroit don't have a head coach. They fired their special teams coach. And they split the series though in their last 4 meetings, but that's without Tom Brady and all that. In those meetings because Tom Brady's 4-0 versus the Lions, so it shouldn't. It should be an easy Tampa Bay win that they're needing because they're only. If they win out and then the Saints lose, I think one more, Tampa Bay would have the no. Tampa Bay would need to win out and Saints would need to lose out, and they can take control of the NFC South, I believe. But I could be wrong because they're 10-4. Yeah, they could. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Another Saturday game is the 5-9 San Francisco 49ers at 8-6 Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco's been playing at Glendale at State Farm Stadium since the whole COVID regulations kicked in, where they can't play in San Francisco. So they had to play at Arizona the past couple home games, and now they're staying put for this home game, for this away game. That's technically kind of a home game because they've been playing there, but then they also play there next week as well. So they're finishing out in Arizona, which is kind of, they're 5-9, but kind of for their advantage of not having to travel. But they've been eliminated last week with their loss. So, man, it doesn't really matter at this point. They signed Josh Rosen from the Buccaneers practice squad yesterday because Nick Mullins was placed on injury reserve now with a right elbow injury that requires surgery. They designated Jimmy Garoppolo to return, but they're Shanahan saying that he's not likely going to return. So they brought in Josh Rosen. He's returning to Arizona, where he was drafted by the Cardinals a couple seasons ago, and now he's on his 4th team. So drafted him 10th overall, didn't really pan out for the Cardinals. And now they got, doing that, they got Kyler Murray, who's obviously a way better quarterback than Josh Rosen. So I guess, doing that was worth it. But, they could have got something else, a different need with the 10th overall pick in 2018 and not have to get Josh Rosen. And then the last Saturday game, which will be an interesting game, it's the 9-5 Miami Dolphins. They're traveling to Las Vegas to play the 7-7 Raiders. The Raiders, they've lost 6 out of the last 7 versus Miami in their recent history. They won in the 2017 season against Miami, but the previous one before that was way back in 2007, so 10 years earlier. So, it'll be interesting. Every time I do think about this matchup, I always think about that Sunday night game in 2017 that the Raiders played. Is when Marshall Newhouse recovered that fumble, and I don't know if anyone else remembers it, but he recovered that and fumbled himself and flipped in midair. So, man, I always watch. That's probably like my favorite video when it comes to the Raiders. Just how funny that was, seeing a big man, flip in the air like that. It was kind of funny. But it should be a Dolphins win. Raiders, they have a chance to make the playoffs still. They need a lot of help, and they're not officially eliminated yet. They will be, though, with the loss for sure. But, they got to somehow pull it off. I don't know if it's Derek Carr. I think I saw that Derek Carr returned to practice today. So if they're rolling with Carr or Mariota, it's a short week. So I don't think they should roll with Carr. Just, it's due to the fact they have a groin injury, and, it wasn't a short week. They played Thursday. So he had time, but, I think this roll with Mariota. I thought Mariota did good on Thursday night, and they look like he brought up tempo to that offense. I mean, their defense is obviously horrible, and they went up against Justin Herbert, who's a phenomenal rookie. Of course, you're gonna get torched when you have players like Darryl Worley playing safety. I mean, he was originally a corner, but you have Darryl Worley playing safety, and of course Justin Herbert's gonna light you up. And they lit him up without Keenan Allen or Mike Williams playing majority. They even play majority of the snaps. They're out for most of the game, so. That just shows how bad this Raiders defense is and why they fired Paul Guenther. But, they need to win this game if they want some sort of chance. They need other teams to lose too. But it's just, at this point, you might as well just keep losing and try to better your draft capital. But, you see what happens. John Gruden, he might be on the hot seat going into next year. And if he doesn't make playoffs next year and has a losing record next year, he'll for sure be on the hot seat. And then Derek Carr as well, his future can, he's done good, but you need to win games in the league. It doesn't matter if you're padding up stats and all that. If you're not leading your team to the playoffs, it falls on the quarterback as well as the head coach. But they might want a new face if they do bring in a head coach, if they decide to let go of John Gruden after his 5th year, because they give him a 10-year, $100 million contract. If you don't make the playoffs in the first 5 years, I don't know why they'd keep him. You might as well cut the ties, and then by that point, who knows what will be Derek Carr or he'll be at that time. But we'll see what happens. The next game, the Sunday games. We're into the Sunday games. The 10-4 Cleveland Browns. They're at the 1-13 New York Jets. The Jets, they got their first win last week against the Rams, which was a shocker. They lost the first overall pick because of that. So they won, but they technically lost. Mekhi Becton, he came out saying that you're not a true Jets fan if you want us to lose because we don't work our asses off to lose games, blah blah blah. And I get that. I understand that, but like, as a Jets fan, you're here spending money on them, watching them, whatever. At this point, you have nothing else to look for but Trevor Lawrence, and you've been looking forward to that since you started your losing streak. And then it comes to week 15, and you lose the opportunity by winning a meaningless game at that point to the Rams by 3 points. If I was a Jets fan, I'd be upset knowing that you have your hands on Trevor Lawrence, who looked, amazing at Clemson since his freshman year, knowing that since his freshman year at Clemson, he was going to go first overall, depending on, we declared his junior or senior year, he was automatically going to be the first overall pick, no doubt. And then, you're like, all right, this is the year, I got the first overall pick. It's week 10. We're, 0-9. And then you go and win a meaningless game in week 15 to blow that chance to get the best quarterback in the draft. But I understand also winning that you have other options like Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, or you can go later and get Kyle Trask or Trey Lance is there if we decide to trade back. If they want to stick with Sam Darnold, you invested in Sam Darnold, you drafted him in the first round a couple years ago. He hasn't really panned out, but they might just you really don't know. They might go in free agency. They might not even draft a quarterback if they do something in free agency. Like if I was able to get a good quarterback in free agency, I would trade that second overall pick and take my draft capital. But it just really depends on who's available, because I wouldn't want Sam Darnold, me personally, but it really just depends. But we can get to the next game. The next matchup is a 5-9 another New York team, the 5-9 New York Giants at the 9-5 Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens, they won 3 straight now since before that. They lost the 4 out of the last 5 before going on a 3-game win streak. They just whooped on Jacksonville last week. Yeah, they whooped on Jacksonville last week. They got that crazy Monday night game the week before against the Browns. Now they're at 9-5. They're at the 8th seed and still on the outside looking in at 9-5. The 5-9, 9-5. The 5-9 New York Giants. They're you'd think they'd be eliminated, but how the NFC's been this year. They still have a chance, and if they lose this game, they're gonna kiss their their postseason hopes goodbye, because they need a win, and it's gonna be a hard win. I don't know if Colt McCoy is gonna be making his third start. Most likely, I don't think they're gonna throw Daniel Jones in right away, but within the next couple of days that'll be decided. But yeah, I got Baltimore winning that game for sure. But yeah, I want to. We're like in 20-something minutes now. I want to thank everybody that's tuning in. It's just me tonight. Everyone else, the rest of the crew, Xavier, Darian, Nahum, and Jake, they weren't able to make it tonight. I understand. They, people got plans. Got holiday stuff going on. So I'm making the time to put out a show because I did promise a show yesterday. We'd be on tonight. I'm trying to aim for every Tuesday, every Wednesdays, and then throw in a couple episodes within the week when necessary. But Tuesdays and Wednesdays for now will be like the main days. But come playoffs, I'll probably change it, and then in the off season. But when it comes to the regular season, Tuesdays mainly going over the week before, and then Wednesdays going over the coming week. So we'll be Tuesday and Wednesday for next week as well. That's the plan. So hope that everyone else can tune in. But we can get on with the week 16 matchups. The next game, we have the 3-10 Cincinnati Bengals. They're traveling to the 4-10 Houston Texans, and the Texans. I feel everyone feels bad for Deshaun Watson, and I understand that. But I saw something online that was a valid point. They say free Watson, and blah blah blah. Deshaun Watson should get out of there, blah blah blah. But I don't think he would have signed that massive contract if he didn't want to stay there. If he really wanted to leave, he wouldn't have signed that massive contract. So of course he wants to stay in Houston. That's his new home. But I understand you gotta give him better weapons. But that's the whole front office's fault for doing that. The front office let him down for trading away one of the best receivers in the game for David Johnson, who can never stay healthy, and then a second round pick. You didn't even get a first round pick that you don't even have to begin with. You didn't even get a first round pick because you traded that away to Miami. And then you didn't get one for returning DeAndre Hopkins. Well, I don't know what they were thinking. I know Arizona, if they got it finessed somehow. I don't know if they originally wanted to offer a first round pick or they just went straight to second round. I don't even know if they even put the first round pick on the table. Bill O'Brien, that's one reason why you don't hire a head coach as your GM, like, because you keep your head coach, your GM, your owner, your owner. So Jerry Jones, take no on that too. You're the owner, stay as the owner. Don't be running the whole show, because that's what happens when you have that. You have whole power to the team where you're not looking up to nobody else but yourself when you're Jerry Jones. But you're one of the richest people, one of the richest owners in the NFL anyway. So I mean, I understand, but I think you shouldn't be in control of the whole team. As like, you should be like the owner, of course, but like, let the GMs and all that be the GMs and the coaches be the coaches. But Bengals, speaking of the Bengals, they're 3-10-1. They're sitting with the 3rd overall pick. They won on Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They just punched them right in the throat, and I think that Juju Smith-Schuster dancing was one of the reason why. Being a divisional rivalry, they just want to play for something at this point, and that was their probably the game they're looking forward to the most coming towards the end of the year is a primetime game where everyone's watching. Well, you think everyone's watching, not everyone was watching that, of course, but you're under the lights and you're hyped up. You got this dude dancing, doing little TikTok dances and on your logo pregame. Damn right. And even the week before that, Josh Allen came out saying like let them do the dance and they're putting the work. They did that on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago, and Steelers lost that game as well. Now they lost 3 straight. So we can get into the next games though. 7-7 Chicago Bears. They're at the 1-13 Jacksonville Jaguars. And, Jets are going to be watching this game because they want Jaguars to win a game, of course, and the fans want their own team to lose. But the 7-7 Chicago Bears, they started off 5-1. They went on like a 6-game losing streak. Now they're on a 2-game winning streak now with Mr. Trubisky at the helm. Matt Nagy's not calling the offensive plays no more. That's letting David Montgomery ball out. He's had 100+ rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 games, and he has 5 rushing touchdowns in the past 3 games total. And now he's going up against Jacksonville, who's the 3rd worst rush defense in the league, allowing 146.5 yards a game. If you have David Montgomery on your team in fantasy, you might be looking good in the championship game as well. That's a top matchup for a running back is going up against Jacksonville. Montgomery might just lead you to the whole, make you win the whole trophy. So that's hope Montgomery. I'm in the league, so I'm in the championship. I need Montgomery to ball out. So hopefully Jacksonville lets him run all over him. We can get to the next matchup though. We have the 4-10 Atlanta Falcons at the 13-1 Kansas City Chiefs, and the Falcons, they had a 24-7 lead against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers last week, but this. Falcon fans, I feel bad for y'all, but I don't feel bad for y'all as a Panther fan because I hate y'all. But you're not gonna have a lead. You shouldn't have a lead against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 22-1 in their last 23 games, including the postseason going back to last year. They're they lost to the Raiders in like week 7 this year. But other than that, like, they've been the best team of football. You won 22 of your last 23 games, and you really think the Dirty Birds are gonna go into the Kansas City and make a shot, make a surprise upset? Like, you're not going to get a 24-7 lead against the Chiefs. Maybe the Buccaneers, because Tom Brady lets y'all get a big lead on them just to, crush your hearts. But other than that, like, Patrick Mahomes is not going to let that. Neither is Andy Reid. So you can just, just lose out if that was the Falcons. They're sitting with like the 5th overall pick right now. And, look forward to the future. You don't have a coach yet. You don't have a GM. So at this point, you have nothing really to play for. Just Raheem Morris's job if he wants to stay the head coach, because he interviewed. I think if he goes out, he tries to go out strong, he can try to win that battle for the next head coach and not just be the interim. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now we got probably one of the most intriguing games this week as well in the early slate of games. It's the 10-4 Indianapolis Colts at the 11-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers I've been talking about, they lost 3 straight. Juju's gonna stop dancing on the midfield. I feel like that gave the Bengals like motivation to just punch them in the throat, and Colts aren't gonna get that dancing anymore. But they're gonna want to go out there and win. They're playing for the AFC South. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they lose this game, and the Browns won their game. Their week 17 matchup is going to be for the AFC North, and you thought the Steelers had that locked up already, but no, they lost 3 straight. And now the Browns can, they could both be 11-4 going into week 17 if the Steelers lose and the Browns, beat the Jets, which is an easy matchup. That could be that could be flexed to prime time on Sunday night, the Steelers versus Browns. So that'd be something to watch. I kind of hope that does happen. I kind of want to root for the Colts to do something in the playoffs. Them and the Bills, I'm kind of like rooting for, because my team obviously ain't making the playoffs. But I want to see Josh Allen ball out still, and I want to see Philip Rivers trying to make one last playoff push to try to make get a Super Bowl ring, because he's never been in the Super Bowl. So, he went to the Colts, and, he's on a better team, and it can happen for him. But, you got to get past the Chiefs first in the AFC before you do anything. So we'll see what happens there. Now we get into the afternoon games. Sorry, my cat is fucking up my damn screen. What's it called? Sorry about that. So, we got the 5-9 Denver Broncos. They're traveling to Los Angeles to play the 5-9 Chargers. Denver, they played a bad game against Buffalo on Saturday. Their offense obviously looked sluggish. Their defense did no help. Josh Allen just torched them, but he's been torching all of his opponents in recent weeks. That's why he's looking like an MVP contender. But the Chargers, they're coming off a victory on Thursday, so they've had extra time, and they got a divisional they got a divisional win against the Las Vegas Raiders in that Thursday night matchup. And, now they get their other divisional opponent, Denver Broncos, at home. And Justin Herbert, he just needs one more touchdown for the rookie passing touchdown record. He's tied with Baker Mayfield with 27. So one more will get him 28. And it's likely. In Denver, they're expected to get Brandon McManus, their kicker. He's supposed to come back from COVID list. Their replacement kicker, I can't remember his name. He was some random dude from Saturday. He missed like 1 field goal and 2 PATs. So, yeah, he's not gonna stay on that team for sure, especially get Brandon McManus back. But Brandon McManus missed a couple of PATs the week before as well, though, against the Carolina Panthers. But his job is obviously safe. But speaking of the Carolina Panthers, we have the 4-10 Carolina Panthers at the 6-8 Washington football team. McCaffrey is doubtful, and so is Brian Burns. Brian Burns got hurt at the end of the Packer game on Saturday night, and then McCaffrey's been out majority of the year. He's only played in like 3 games. So at this point, McCaffrey's done for the year. He's going to get ready for next season. Burns, he's most likely out this week, probably week 17 as well, and see why they'd play him unless he just wants to go out there and play. It's a Ron Rivera revenge game. Ron Rivera's going up against his former team for the first time as the Washington football team head coach, and it came all the way in week 16 to do that. The football team's having a crazy, ever since the offseason. I'm going to kick my cat's ass, man. Ever since the offseason, they've been having, the Washington Post been putting out a bunch of news on the Washington football team about, sexual misconduct and all that in the organization. And, Ron Rivera, he's more like a class act guy. He's going through cancer and all that. He beat that. So now, he has his team on top of the NFC East. In week 16, he can get it looks like a favorable matchup too, and he can get this win. Almost likely, I think that'll secure the NFC East. I believe if the Giants lose and then like Cowboys lose, that could for sure make them win the division. Yeah, the Panthers, they've lost 2 straight to Washington football team going back to last year and the year before. It looks like it could be 3 straight. I have Washington winning, beating my team, sadly. But, good for Ron Rivera being a class act, having to go through everything that's going on in the organization to still lead this, coach this team through battling cancer. He beat it, and now he's, looking like he can make it to the playoffs in his first year with Washington, which I don't think anyone really expected. Like, Washington was probably like everyone projected them to be 4th in the division going into this year, but their defense is young and their studs on that defense. Their D line is like crazy, with Chase Young, and then you drafted Montez Sweat the year before. You still have Deron Payne, Ryan Kerrigan still there as a leader. A decent secondary. You lost Landon Collins, but they drafted Cameron Curl in the 7th round this past draft, and he's been pretty good, underrated guy. He's a rookie. Being a 7th round pick, you're not going to get much attention, but especially not by the media. But he'll eventually earn that, I believe. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Ron Rivera coaches up against the Carolina Panthers that he used to coach for. The next game, we got the 9-5 Los Angeles Rams. They're up against the 10-4 Seattle Seahawks, and this could be all for the for the division right here. The Rams win this, they'll be back on top of the division, but they lost that since they lost to the Jets, and Seattle beat Washington football team last week. Seattle leaped them again, and that's been like a back and forth division. Like 1 week it's the Rams, and then it's the Seahawks. Cardinals were up on top at one point. 49ers, if they were healthy and were winning games, they could have been in the mix. That whole division, if San Francisco wasn't hurt, they could have possibly, all of them could have been over 500 right now, depending on what would happen. But the Rams, I got the Rams winning it. But then I'm kind of iffy about that because they did win the first matchup. Do I really see the Rams sweeping the Seahawks, especially after losing to the Jets the week before? Kind of iffy. I got the Rams winning it though, but Seattle, because Seattle, they're 10-4, but they're not that impressive, and they haven't been that impressive in recent weeks. Russell Wilson was looking like an MVP contender, but now he's falling off. The defense obviously isn't that great, especially in the secondary. You got Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs making Pro Bowls, which I don't kind of agree with. Other than the only reason why Jamal Adams did is because of his name, and he set the record for sacks for a DB with 8.5. Other than that, if he didn't have those sacks, I wouldn't have approved of him going to the Pro Bowl. I don't think that's a right vote, and I don't even know what Quandre Diggs done to get voted in. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this is from what I've seen. And you're playing in a secondary that's one of the worst in the league. How do you make it to the Pro Bowl? You think you'd be making that secondary better. I mean, it also relies on the cornerbacks, but you're still out there too, playing in the secondary. So I don't know who. I guess if it's really fan voting, I guess the Seahawks fans, they just hella spam the vote for their safeties to go in. So, so that'll be a good matchup on Sunday afternoon. But we can get into the last Sunday afternoon game. It's the 4-9-1 Philadelphia Eagles at the 5-9 Dallas Cowboys. Jalen Hurts, he's been phenomenal. He's thrown for over 500 yards and rushed for over 150 yards in his first 2 career starts, which is the most by a player in NFL history. Carson Wentz might be out the door soon. They said the rumors were that he wants to be traded if he's not the starter. So I don't know who's going to trade for that contract, or just knowing the fact that he's injury prone. I don't know who would want to trade for that. I mean, there could be a desperate team out there, or he might just have to sit on the bench, or the Eagles might have to get the dead cap and cut him, or who knows what's going to happen with that. It'll be some good offseason drama that'll go on with that because Philly has a huge fan base, and then you got Jalen Hurts taking over the team at the end of the year. He's starting this week, and he's probably going to start week 17 as well. So you might not see Carson Wentz at all for the rest of the year unless something happens to Jalen Hurts or Jalen Hurts stinks it up and they go back to Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz, he had a horrible year and he's been injury prone. He didn't, and I understand if he led the team, the Eagles teams to the Super Bowl, which he had a good year that year. I can't discredit him on that. He had a good year and he looked like an MVP contender in that was it 2017 season. But you didn't lead him to the Super Bowl. You got hurt, which is one reason why you're concerned is because your health. And then you let Nick Foles lead him to the Super Bowl, and they actually won it with Nick Foles, So it's like, was it really all you though in that year? Or, if Nick Foles can do it, anyone could have possibly done it depending on, who the quarterback is. Obviously not anyone, but like a decent quarterback, could have led that team then because Nick Foles now he got traded to Jacksonville, who he stunk it up there, and now he went to Chicago, he's stunk it up there too. So it's just Carson Wentz, that drama, and it's gonna be a bunch of drama in Philadelphia, depending on what they do with their quarterback situation, which I'm all for, and we'll be posting it for sure on our Twitter and our Instagram and our Facebook when the time comes. But that's it for the Sunday afternoon games, the second slate of games. But then you got the Sunday night football game, which is probably the best game of the week. You got the 10-4 Tennessee Titans traveling to Lambeau Field to play the 11-3 Green Bay Packers, and these teams haven't really matched up a lot in their history. Titans, they were once the Oilers, and then, now they're the Titans, and it's only been a couple of matchups. Like the Titans are 7-5 all time versus Green Bay, so it hasn't been, their history is not that long as the Tennessee Titans. The Titans, they've won the last 4 out of 5 matchups versus Green Bay, surprisingly, actually to think that, and they lead the series as well, knowing that Green Bay's been a pretty good team in their history, and they've had their rough times, especially with the final years of Mike McCarthy. But the one game that Green Bay won was in 2012, where they won 55-7. So that was a key highlighted game. That's the one game they won out of the last 5, but it was 55-7. It was 55-0 at one point, but then Tennessee eventually scored. Yeah, that's a major blowout, though. Green Bay's looking to do that again this Sunday night, but it's not likely that they will, especially when you got Derrick Henry running over, bulldozing through defenses. And, they're going to have more than 7 points, of course. But in Ryan Tannehill, I think Ryan Tannehill, he was snubbed from the Pro Bowl. He's been balling ever since he left Miami and Adam Gase and all that. Adam Gase just ruins careers, man. You saw that with Sam Darnold's career is looking like it's ruined because himself, but maybe the Adam Gase curse is there, and the Adam Gase curse was in Miami when Ryan Tannehill was there, and now Ryan Tannehill's in a new home. He's in in Nashville, and he's looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I was kind of doubting him going in the year. He had a good year last year, but will he do it in a full 16 games? I wanted to see that, which I'm seeing it now. He's done in their first 14 games. He's looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I can't hate on that. He's balling out there, and it helps when you have Derrick Henry and then AJ Brown. He's been balling, but he's been hurt too. But he's still been playing, and he doesn't have Corey Davis. They declined his 5th-year option. He can be a free agent, but I think I feel like he kind of leaped this year. He's obviously doing better than what he was before, and that's why they declined his 5th-year option. So this year he has something to play for. If he needs a new contract. If it's not in Tennessee, he's gonna be somewhere else. So he's having Ryan Tannehill throw him the ball. It's just shown that. His full potential, because we weren't seeing that at first in his first couple of years in Tennessee when Mariota was the quarterback there and all that, which, Mariota, he wasn't the answer in Nashville, but he might be the answer for the next 2 games for the Raiders. So we'll see what happens if Derek Carr plays at all for the rest of the year or not. But, I got Packers winning it, though. I think Tennessee going to lose it, and then it's going to be an interesting battle come week 17. Who's going to win the AFC South? So that'll be interesting. But Green Bay, they're gonna win. I think they'll. I think with a win, they'll clinch the first seed. So I feel like they got something more to play for. And I feel like this might be the better team. Aaron Rodgers, he's looking like the MVP. Him and Patrick Mahomes, but Aaron Rodgers, he's thrown 40 touchdown passes, which is the 3rd time in his career, which is the most by any player in NFL history, throwing for at least 40 or more touchdowns in a season. So Aaron Rodgers, he's been balling. Aaron Jones has been balling. Devontae Adams, he's been balling. Their defense is all right. It's not bad. They have Jair Alexander balling out there. They got both Smiths, getting to the quarterback. So their defense could be better, of course, but they're still, they're 11-3, and Matt LaFleur, no one would have thought he'd be 24 and was it 6 or something like that in his first 30 games? No one would have thought that. There's question marks if, Aaron Rodgers was going to even stay with Green Bay for a long time because they drafted Jordan Love, and then here you are, Aaron Rodgers looking like the MVP, so he might just be there even longer. He might be there longer than what the coaching staff was thinking, because they drafted Jordan Love with the 26th overall pick for a reason, but it doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers is slowing down anytime soon. But we can get into the last Monday Night Football game of the year. There's going to be no more Monday Night Footballs. There's no more Thursday Night Football games. That was last week's was the last game, and then you got the last Monday Night Football game this week. Kind of sad, when that happens, the regular season's done, and then you got the playoffs, and sadly, regular season football season's over. You still got the off season stuff, but you're not gonna watch any more football for several months. So it's sad to see, but it happens. It's life. The season got to end. But you got the 11-3 Buffalo Bills at the 6-8 New England Patriots. I got the Buffalo Bills. They're gonna win that. Buffalo might be due for a loss, and maybe Cam might be motivated to somehow get this team a victory, even though they've been eliminated from the playoffs. That's the first time since 2008 when Tom Brady tore his ACL week 1 of that year. They still went. They went 11-5 and still missed the postseason. And this is the first time since then. They also don't have Tom Brady anymore. They don't have Tom Brady this year either, but that's because he moved on and not because he was hurt. And it's crazy. And then Buffalo, they won their first AFC East title since 1995. Josh Allen wasn't even born yet. I wasn't even born yet. So it's it's been a long time coming for Buffalo, and Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane got a good thing going in Buffalo. Imagine if AB wasn't a nut. If AB wasn't a nut and just took the trade to Buffalo, because that was the first set of news that he was getting traded to Buffalo, and and AB said he wouldn't report if he got traded there. And imagine if AB wasn't a nut and he was paired with Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, Josh Allen throwing at both of them, and and then have Cole Beasley in the slot, and then they'd still have John Brown. They'd look like the New England Patriots receiving core kind of, but Tom Brady gets that, not Josh. Yeah, Josh Allen's looking like an MVP contender. He's been proving everybody wrong. His third year. I assume this third year for Josh Allen's gonna be the year that he proves to the NFL that he can be a top quarterback. And usually by your third year, you're gonna know if you're a top quarterback or not. And Josh Allen made the leap this year. Going into this year, the last game we played was that wild card game against Houston, where he kind of made some mistakes. He had that weird fumble at the end of the game that kind of cost them. They ended up losing that game too. Well, the fumble didn't cost them, but it was just like, why were you doing that? They still kept the ball, if anyone remembers that. But it was just like a bonehead decision. What are you doing? But Josh Allen, he's looking like an MVP contender as well. Him, Rodgers, and Mahomes are gonna look like the three contenders. They're gonna, you got that to play for in these next two games. Like, who's gonna win it? And it'll be interesting to see who gets it. I feel like they might lean. I think just because it's Josh Allen, I think like he's not gonna get it. It's gonna be either Mahomes or Rodgers. Because they're obviously the bigger name, franchise quarterbacks compared to Allen, who's only in his third year. So, but hopefully, something might happen and Josh Allen might be able to take it. But it'll be an interesting set of games this week. In 2 weeks left, you got some intriguing games depending on who's going to make the playoffs and who's going to be the first seed, and who division titles are on the line. So that's what gets interesting in these next couple of weeks. The draft orders falling into place. Like after week 17, you're gonna have the first 18 picks set. So I'm looking forward to that. If you didn't catch yesterday, me and Darian, we dropped our top 10 mock draft as of week 16. How the order is as of right now. It's our first one. Eventually, once the first 18 picks are set, we're gonna eventually leap into the 32. Maybe I might do the first 18, and then I kind of want to wait till the season's completely done, so we have the full set of picks set in stone, so I can start putting out actually my full mock drafts and all that. So you can go on dailyfootballzone.com under the NFL draft tab. You can check that out. Me and Darian, we put out our top 10 mock draft 1.0. I might do another one next week, depending on how it shifts, if it shifts major shift or not. If not, it'll probably look the same. But that's it for a week 16 preview. Now we can get into the debate. Right now, there's a lot of discussion from last week. It was last week that Randy Moss was on. I think it was Terrell Owens, his podcast, saying that Randy Moss is, he was saying he was the best, most dominant receiver ever play, and then Terrell Owens would have been second, and then he said Jerry Rice would have been like third or fourth. I thought that was a good debate. Who would you rather have, Jerry Rice or Randy Moss? There were two different eras. Jerry Rice did play in the Randy Moss era for a little bit. He was more out of his prime. He was still balling at like 40 years old. He had still had over 1,000 yards in the Raiders Super Bowl year in 2002, and he's he made a Pro Bowl I think that year too at like 40 something years old. So he was still he has the longevity and still be productive. You got to give Jerry Rice that, and that's the reason why people say he's the best receiver of all time. And I feel like more older heads say that compared to the younger heads that saw Randy Moss more than Jerry Rice, and they want to favor Randy Moss. It's Randy Moss's. It's Randy Moss. He has his own phrase. He has his own fucking catchphrase. You got Moss, and Randy Moss is obviously an all-time great, and he's gonna be he's a great player, but. Fucking Jerry Rice was fucking dominant, man. He caught over 1,500 receptions. He had caught 1,549 receptions, which is the most in NFL history, for 22,895 yards, which is the most in NFL history, and 197 touchdowns, which is the most in NFL history. And he had 23,546 all-purpose yards, which is the most in NFL history, and 208 total touchdowns. So, you want to go off stats, obviously Jerry Rice has the advantage over Randy Moss. Randy Moss only caught 982 receptions for 15,292 yards and 156 touchdowns in 15 years compared to Jerry Rice's 20 years, which, you also got to put in the longevity. Jerry Rice was able to be productive for 20 years compared to Randy Moss's 15. It's like, it's not, it's obviously not Randy Moss's fault. You couldn't keep going for 20 years like Jerry Rice did, but it's like Bo Jackson. Like, Bo Jackson was a great running back, but he didn't have a long career. But you're gonna say he's the best running back to ever play. Like, you're not gonna say that because he didn't he couldn't prove it. But like he can obviously prove that he was good, but he's not the best running back to ever play because he doesn't have the stats and accolades to prove that. But it's like who would have known? Maybe I could have been the best the defensive end to ever play, but obviously I'm not playing, so I can't prove that. But yeah, 20 years for Jerry Rice. He was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2010. He was a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year in 1987 and 1983. He's a 10-time first-team All-Pro, a 2-time second-team All-Pro, and a 13 Pro Bowl, 13 Pro Bowler, 13 years. So, even all his stats and accolades are over Randy Moss, which Randy Moss, 15 years, a 6-time Pro Bowler. He was a Pro Bowl MVP, a 4-time first-team All-Pro. He was a comeback player of the year in 2007. He was the offensive rookie of the year in 1998. And then his records were the most TDs in the season, which was 23 in 2007 when he was with the Patriots. And then the most touchdowns by a rookie was 17 in 1998 when he was with the Vikings, which, they both got, records. But obviously, you compare Jerry Rice's stats and accolades to Randy Moss, you got to give it to Jerry Rice. And if you're talking about dominant, like obviously Moss was dominant, but you can't say Rice wasn't either, And I wasn't even in the Jerry Rice era. I vaguely remember him playing when he was, with the Seahawks and the Raiders. I was like 7 years old or so at that time. So it's like, I remember like seeing him out there, but like, but I've gone back and I've looked up Jerry Rice's highlights. I looked up his, his life story and all that, and seen his, the stories about him. But like compare him to Randy Moss, like it's obviously Jerry Rice. He has everything to prove why he's the greatest receiver of all time. And that's just my vote. If you have if you think otherwise, you think it's Randy Moss or Jerry Rice, you can always leave a comment, and I'll talk about it with you. Always feel free to interact and discuss. But yeah, I got Jerry Rice. I just the accolades itself disprove it, and the records, the records he set, the stat line itself is why it's Jerry Rice. I understand, Randy Moss is obviously gonna, he don't go on a podcast and say it's him. Like, if I was him, I would say the same thing. It was me, knowing that, I did a lot in the NFL. Like, I would say I was the best. I feel like I was the best, which, I don't blame him for thinking that. But, me as a fan on the outside looking in on this, on the debate, I got Jerry Rice, and I'd always say Jerry Rice until someone proves otherwise. A lot of people say Calvin Johnson, but like, people say Calvin Johnson was dominant, but he wasn't the best player the best receiver ever to play. Like, he's not. And I don't blame people for thinking that. That's just the time era that you grew up in. Like, some people grew up in the Jerry Rice era, people grew up in the Randy Moss era, and then people grew up in the Calvin Johnson era, Julio Jones era. Like, they think them, but they say, oh, it's a different time. But still, you can't discredit what Jerry Rice was doing at the time he was playing. It might be a different ball game then, but who says he couldn't do that if he was in his prime in 2020? Yeah, he couldn't be putting up the same numbers. You can't say that. And you might think about it. His numbers might just be even better if he was playing right now, because it's more of a passing league compared to back then. Like, you had Joe Montana and Steve Young, but like they ran the ball. Running was more active in the 90s and the 80s compared to what it is now. No, there's no running back, carrying it for, 300, 400 times, putting over, 2,000 yards every year. Like, not every year, but, and scoring 28 touchdowns on the year. You had Agent Pearson do that in like 12 or 13, but like, who else has been doing that? Who's else been running the ball like that, It's been more of the pass, and now you got the quarterbacks running the ball. Like, it's just it takes away from that. But then, yeah, it's more passing now. You got quarterbacks throwing for 5,000 yards and for over 4,500 yards and all that. So who would have known what Jerry Rice's stat line would be if he was playing today, putting 20 years in recent time? We saying Phelps, Randy Moss is the GOAT. Hey man, if that's you, that's you. That's what you saw. And like, again, what I was saying, it's a different time era. You weren't I know you personally, so you weren't watching Jerry Rice play in his prime. You weren't even born. I wasn't even born, but yeah, I went back and saw. I've been put on game of Jerry Rice. That's why I got Jerry Rice. I might be a little biased due to the fact that my dad was a 49er fan. His favorite player was Jerry Rice too. So I got that bias in there. But I've gone and looked at his highlights, looked at his tape, looked at his the Football Life show that they have on NFL Network and all that. Like, I've seen him play, and and that's not to take away Randy Moss. Yeah, Randy Moss was balling in his time in Minnesota, and then he went 1 year in Oakland, and then went to New England and set records there. He set the touchdown record there. So man, he has the accolades up there to say why he's a Hall of Fame receiver and why he's one of the best. but I don't got him being the best. Like that's to me, it's Jerry Rice. And if for everyone that's watching, if you want to be a part of the debate, you want something to say, like if you think it's Jerry Rice or if you think it's Randy Moss, who's the better receiver, who's the best receiver of all time, feel free to leave a comment. I'll put it up on the big screen and we could talk about it. But, you know, people say, "Oh, Randy Moss didn't have quarterbacks like Dante Culpepper. He was a decent quarterback. He's not like he was playing with freaking Brock Osweiler. You know, Dante Culpepper was a decent quarterback. He wasn't bad. You know, and he eventually went with the GOAT and had a couple good years with Tom Brady. And then eventually after that, he just fell off. You know, who remembers the years that he was with Tennessee and San Francisco? Like those are just his last like 2-3 years were forgettable. Or well, Jerry Rice was 42 years old in Oakland, making it to the Super Bowl and still putting over 1,000 yards and being a Pro Bowler at 42 years old or whatever age he was at the time. Like, yeah, put that in effect, like into the debate is like you're being that productive for that long, and that's why I'd say Larry. Some might not agree, but Larry Fitzgerald, I say, is a top 5. He's up on the leaderboards for all receiving records. He's like second in like, I think, yards and catches or touchdowns, something, and then like maybe like 6th or 5th in touchdowns. You know, I think he got like his 121st on Sunday. But Larry Fitzgerald's one of them too. He's been productive for however many how many years now? It's been since 2004. So 2004, I think it was. So like 17 years in Arizona to do that all in one franchise. He's like the face of that franchise, and to be productive for that long, you know, since 2004, that's like 17 years in Arizona. This year, obviously he's kind of fallen off due to DeAndre Hopkins' arrival, and then he missed like a game due to the COVID list. I think the last touchdown he got on Sunday, that was his first touchdown of the year. But you're not gonna be putting up the crazy numbers as you get older, of course, unless you're Jerry Rice, like my point. But I'd say Larry Fitzgerald's a top 5 receiver if we're being honest. A lot of people think Calvin Johnson's top 5. I might have him out of it. It's top 5 receivers. Maybe he'd be number 5, but I don't got him being like number 1 or 2 or 3. I got in this whole debate, I got Rice, Moss, and Owens in the top 3 at least. Who's your top 5 receivers? Yeah, I'd say Rice, Moss. And it's no order really, other than Rice being number 1. Rice, Moss, Owens. Who else is there, man? I gotta think who else played, man. I guess you can throw Larry at 4, and then if you want to say Calvin Johnson, I'll put him at 5. People want throwing Julio Jones or Antonio Brown, like for these days, for receivers these days. You can throw them in there. I don't know if they're top 5 just yet. They got Julio Jones has been balling, but like he's been kind of hurt these past couple of years, so it's imagine if he was able to stay healthy, his numbers would be even better, but. As of right now, I wouldn't have Julio Jones on the top 5. I guess I would say those 5. I should have been prepared of who I would put in my top 5 because I really don't know. I need to think of some other receivers. There's other receivers like Torrey Holt that was productive. I wouldn't say top 5, but like there are top receivers. Torrey Holt and like Isaac Bruce. That Rams duo back in the late 90s and 2000s. Like that was a crazy duo. Of course, me being biased, Steve Smith is one of the top receivers. I wouldn't say top 5 either, but top 15 at least. Top 15 at least. Being 5'9" and to be able to bully fucking DBs are bigger than him, and he's top 10 in the receiving yards all time in receiving yards in the top 10. I can't remember what number he's at. Fitz and Megatron, Marvin Harrison. Even Marvin Harrison's a top receiver. I mean. He was accused of killing somebody. I feel like people forget about that. That's crazy to think about. I mean, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. So, man, he's up there in the top receivers as well. And there's other guys like Steve Largent and older guys, But, it's just a different game now. Receiving is they throw more than they used to, especially like I think it was was it the last offseason when the NFL dropped like the top the top players ever for like each like position. Like they had like random motherfuckers from like the 50s on that list, and people are like, where the hell is Julio? Like they had like some random motherfuckers from like I don't even remember their damn names from how long ago, from the 60s and shit. And it's like, man, I guess for that time they were dominant. You got to put them on there. But like fuck man, you got motherfucking balling out there and you're not putting them on there. Like you put fucking Fred, whatever his fucking name is. Like come on, man. So we want to see like more people we remember than people we didn't like. They're not even alive anymore. We don't even remember. Not to tarnish their legacy because they probably balled out, in their time. But yeah, I would say out there Marvin Harrison could be in rotation at 5, maybe. Between Megatron and Marvin Harrison, they could be torn in, flip flop. Reggie Wayne was productive in Indianapolis. I wouldn't say he's like a top receiver or nothing, but he can eventually make the Hall of Fame. Eventually, I don't think he'll be ever be a first ballot, but he can eventually make his way into the Hall of Fame. Megatron too. I think even though Megatron didn't play as long, I think he is productive enough to make it to the Hall of Fame. And you have guys like Terrell Davis and Gale Sayers and all that, but they didn't play that long, and they still made the Hall of Fame. Maybe not be first ballot, but like they can make Hall of Fame. That's why they say like Luke Kuechly, did he play long enough to make the Hall of Fame? I look at Luke Kuechly's accolades and his stats. Even if he played just 8 years, he went to Super Bowl. He has Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. He has over 1,000 tackles. Like he should be in the Hall of Fame. If it's not first ballot, he'll eventually get there. Patrick Willis, I think he should eventually, like someone like that who also played like 8 years, which him and Kuechly are kind of identical, like especially stat wise. I feel like he can make it in too. If it's not first ballot, it's going to be eventually. But yeah, if anyone else have any comment on the debate, Jerry Rice or Randy Moss, feel free to interact. If not, I want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in today. It's just me today. I didn't have any help talking. It's just it's just me on the camera. It's my first time doing it too. This is only our 6th episode, and it's I'm 6 episodes in, and I'm having to do it by myself. Like, I don't blame anybody though. This is all planned for the off season anyway. Like, I didn't think I'd be doing any podcast type of stuff, live type of shows, like until the off season at least. But here we are. I decided like, fuck it. If I keep saying I'm gonna do it, then it's never gonna happen. So you just got do it. Patrick Willis better than Luke? No, I still got Luke. Patrick Willis was a beast on the defense, but Luke was a beast on the defense, and he had the intelligence on the defense, the call plays, opposing teams' plays, and make an impact. I got Luke. Not to be biased, but I got Luke over Patrick Willis. And I love Patrick Willis, man. I actually had a jersey. I had my mom buy me a jersey when I was a kid, even though I wouldn't rock that shit because I'm a Panther fan. But my dad being a 49er fan, I kind of I didn't mind them. And yeah, Patrick Willis was one of my favorite players, non-Panther players. He was a baller for sure. Jerry Rice better for sure. I got Jerry Rice too. I think Jerry Rice has the stats, the accolades, the records, the Super Bowls to prove why he is. Like he did it for 20 years. He was playing to his 40s and still putting up 1,000 yards with the Raiders and went to a Super Bowl. They didn't win it against Tampa, but he still put over 1,000 yards at 41 years old or 40 years old, however old he was. He was in his 40s. I know that, but to be able to play that long and still be productive and hold all the receiving records, like you got to be. You're obviously the best player, the best receiver to play. I don't know why people would think Randy Moss. GG to Corvette. Hey, man, it wouldn't surprise me. Corvette try to do some sponsorship with that dude now or something, man. Fucking TikTok dancers, man. I'm not into the TikTokers. Man, why I got my mom texting me saying Jay Rice is the better receiver, man. I got my mom texting me, hey mom, you watching right now? You can comment, leave a comment. I don't know if I can see Facebook comments on here, but no, yeah, Jerry Rice is the better receiver though. Yeah, Juju, you need to stop TikTok dancing though. I don't use TikTok, so I find that a little cringe to begin with. I feel like that's just targeted to kids. Man, you might as well have Juju do TikTok dances for Nickelodeon when they air that playoff game on Nickelodeon. He can go do his TikTok dances there because I'm not into all that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the night. If anyone else has anything else to say, that'll pretty much be it. We're about an hour in. It's 5:59. Yeah, we're about to be an hour in. I kind of started this earlier than 5 o'clock, so my time says a little bit over an hour, but it's 5:59. So we've been live for about an hour. Yeah, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank my crew that does the shows with me. The other 4 guys that weren't able to come on tonight, they got plans, and I don't expect everyone to be able to make it on every episode. So tonight it was just me. Making times out of my day, working a 9 to 5 and doing this, I've been kind of exhausted the past couple of days just doing both and writing articles, and, but that's life, eventually I can make this the profit and stop working a 9 to 5. So then I can just give all my attention to Daily Football Zone. But yeah, if you're tuning in or you're watching the replay, I want to thank you. Make sure to go check out the newest articles. We had the matchup prediction article on dailyfootballzone.com. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. You also can check out the mock drafts that were released. Jake also released an article about the top 5 Super Bowls we'd want to see, which there's some pretty good matchups on there. I wouldn't mind any of those Super Bowls that he listed. So if you haven't checked them out, dailyfootballzone.com is the website. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not watching on YouTube. You can just look up the Daily Football Zone or Daily Football Zone live, and it'll pop up. Leave us a subscribe. Eventually we can put out more videos, not even live related, just football videos in general. That's all part of the plan this coming off season, this coming 2021 year. You can follow us on Twitter at DailyFZ, and then Instagram at Daily Football Zone. You can follow my personal account. If you don't know, my name is Caleb. You can first thing, you can follow me at I Hate Keb on Instagram and on Twitter. Thank you for everybody that's watching. We might be going live on Saturday night to go over the triple header, but we might not. It's all up in the air. Hopefully we can have a special guest on that was supposed to make it last Thursday night to speak on the Raiders, because the Raiders play Saturday night. So maybe we'll go over that game as well and then bring on a special guest if he's able to make it on. But until then, I hope everyone stays safe. Have a happy holidays. Christmas is 2 days away. You got Christmas on Friday, Christmas Eve tomorrow. Get your shopping done. Stay safe. Wear the mask. Sanitize your hands. Just try your best to be safe. So then this time next year when I'm going live, I don't have to be talking about masks or sanitizer or anything, which wouldn't surprise me if I still have to. But just do the best you can to stay safe out there. And if you want to promote the live episodes or the website in general, feel free to share it with your friends and family. Tell their friends and family to share it. That'd be deeply appreciated. So hopefully by next year this time, we're in a different position now, and then we'll have more viewers than we're averaging now. So that's all the goal. Thank you, and you guys have a great night. And looking forward to hopefully being back Saturday night. That's the plan. If not, we might be back Tuesday, Tuesday night. So hopefully we have the whole crew. We had almost the whole crew yesterday. Nahum made his debut, but he wasn't able to make it tonight. He's driving back from LA because he's going to see his family down here in San Diego for the Christmas. And the next is dealing with his own problems. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the crew. I want to thank everyone that tuned in, and I hope you guys stay safe and have a great night.